All right, we're going to hit it.
Okay.
How's everybody doing? Small but mighty fierce crowd today. Glad everybody's here. And I'm going to hit. I did something on my computer. Hold on, I can't see my screen anymore. There we go. All right, now I can see everybody. Thanks for joining. Happy Friday. Man, great to be in South Carolina this week. What a beautiful week to enjoy the 3 or 4 weeks of spring that we have, or enjoy it while it lasts. But good to see some of y'all yesterday at our tournament. We actually have royalty in the house. We have one of our award winners, Jacob Cook, in the house. So thank you very much. I'll leave it there. I was going to talk about your golf prowess.
I still have the trophy in the car, I think.
Do you know which trophy you won?
I think the French term for it is dead ass last.
Okay, good. I didn't.
But we had more fun than anybody else out there.
Well, we appreciate you coming out. Jacob's Plaza, we had some great, good-looking merch, chamber hats and shirts, and so from Sun Printing. So thank you. All right, let's hit some highlights for the week. I actually had a really good week. I feel like I've been on this whirlwind tour. I've been in like 5 states in three weeks, and but this week I had a state chamber board meeting in Charleston, and we held that at the Ports Authority. So I've got, don't talk about the ports a little bit, but we've got this tale of 2 economies going on, and I'll hit on that in a second. But I can't start without expressing how pleased I am to say this is National Zipper Day. But some of y'all may find it, y'all may appreciate the National Hairball Awareness Day today as well. So congrats to those organizations that somehow got that done. Anyway, so yesterday, big day, markets were kind of volatile, but the Fed's announced we saw a decrease in our GDP by 1.4%. Now, Scott, you just made me laugh. The 1.4% decrease is the largest decrease we've seen since the Great Recession in 2007. But it really is interesting. What's getting hammered are the communications and the tech companies. So you saw Amazon, their sales were up 7%. Okay, revenues were up 7%. But that last year, at the same time, they were up 44%. So they didn't meet expectations. What a sell-off there. Bezos yesterday lost $13 billion.
Wow.
13 billion on paper, right? But 13 billion. But don't lose any sleep. He's still worth about 155. So all good. But that is a significant loss one day. It's an 8% loss. Netflix had poor, if y'all saw that earlier this week, Netflix is just, wow. They're really down. Their stock was up threefold since 2018. So threefold. And since November, they've lost all of it. So they're cracking down on the sharing now, and they're trying to find revenue wherever they can. They laid off a bunch of staff yesterday. So that's interesting. And the NASDAQ has had its worst quarter since 2008. They're down 20.2% this year. So, which is very, very interesting because we're still seeing the dollar raised against the yen yesterday, which is crazy. So we're still producing, we're just buying stuff. We're actually buying more than we're exporting. And so, but cue the whole world geopolitical storm that we're seeing right now as well. So we'll have to watch that. There's mixed reviews on whether or not we're heading to a recession. What I do think is truly part of this is rising gas prices, rising wages, the inflationary concerns, and then the war. And when everybody else starts looking, then big companies put the brakes on expansions and stuff unless they're really necessary. So I think it's just a cautionary thing, but mixed reviews on where the future goes. I'll come back to that. The economy brings back the ports stuff in just a minute. Really, the most worst kept secret. Yesterday, they had the vote in the South Carolina House to have a new speaker, Merle Smith from Sumter. Congrats to him. Merle's a good guy, very pragmatic. And so he is, Jay Lucas, as we've talked about here, decided to step down, not run for re-election, but they wanted a smooth transition over the summer. And also, they have not had a vote for new chair of Ways and Means. Gary Simmerl, who's departing us after this session, after 30 years in the House, he's going to be the interim Ways and Means chair. So for that, South Carolina Senate had the budget on the floor this week. Lots of, the House, if you remember, just about a month ago, the House passed its budget in one day. Largest budget in the history of South Carolina, passed it one day. The Senate took 3 days, but they came at a different path. And so they actually gave taxpayers $1 billion in tax rebates, plus some lowering the income tax. And so the $1 billion variance between the House and the Senate budget, well, you can imagine that's a lot of spending. What I think they were doing is creating the way that the House and the Senate works. One does something, the other does something, they try to meet the middle. So the House went one way, did their own thing. The Senate says, we don't want to quite do that. We're going to go exact opposite, and we'll find some middle ground, and it gives them more flexibility. So they did not fund the expansion of I-73 in Myrtle Beach to 95. They did not fund that. The Myrtle Beach senators were all up in arms and tried to get that done, but they didn't. They also didn't fund a lot of programs under Department of Commerce and a lot of other agencies, just because $1 billion that they decided to give back in tax rebate. So we'll see a humdinger of a conference committee. Okay, that's just going to be fun. So that was all that happened really on the state side this week. In the most unshocking of news, Charleston came out this week as ranked 19th amongst the 26 most unaffordable cities. Hell, I lived there 25 years ago and knew it was unaffordable. But now they're ranked 19th, or top 19 out of 26, which does cue in. We got a lot of conversations with the growth in South Carolina about attainable housing, and that is a significant piece of that ranking for them. Also closer to home, we had talked about this several months ago or sometime about how local Starbucks were looking to unionize, and one in New York did. We got 3 in South Carolina that are having votes to unionize. One here, one down the street from me. So we got one in Anderson, one in Greenville, and the store on Millwood has put in paperwork to unionize. So we'll be monitoring that one closely, which is weird. All right, to the ports, and now I'll open it up, y'all. So the South Carolina Ports Authority has spent hundreds and hundreds of $1 million over the last few years in trying to modernize. $350 million in deepening the harbor to make access to the Wando terminal, but also the North Charleston, the Hugh Leatherman terminal easier, and it's the deepest port on the East Coast. But they're having their busiest year. Obviously, when you open a new facility, you can expand and you see more product coming through. They're up 53% over last year, 53% at the Ports Authority, which is impressive. Actually, 53% from 2020 to 2022. They average 2.5 million containers a month. Now, if you think of it, how many of y'all drive on 26 and 95? You actually don't doubt that they're up 53%, right? The problem is we haven't invested in the state's infrastructure to keep up with the growth of the port. If you really think about it, the port is the financial driver. 1 out of every 10 jobs created in South Carolina is directly tied to the port. We have spent money. We're spending $400 million on brand new rail system for the Ports Authority. We've created, I say we, taxpayers have funded intermodal ports in Greer and in Dillon. So we're trying to get as many trucks off the road. But a few years ago, they were at 12% of their product was going by rail. Now they're up to 25%. So they've doubled the number of trucks off the road, but they're up 53% in overall tonnage. So we're losing that fight. We're seeing a lot more traffic. And so it puts more pressure on DOT and others to fix 26, 95. It is brutal out there. But Barbara Melvin, the incoming CEO, currently the COO of the Ports Authority, was talking about the supply chain issues. And by the way, I told her I keep track of how many ships, and she goes, Carl, it's like a drinking game. I hear more about that than anything else. But they're down to 6 ships off the coast as of yesterday or Wednesday. And more importantly, the ships at anchor overall as of Wednesday were down nationally. We were talking about 6 months ago how many ships were off of LA Long Beach, and it was like 125. They are down considerably. I mean, they're down to like 41. And I asked Barbara, I said, well, how in the world? They have put in a new system. Ships leaving China have to get approval from Long Beach before they leave because of the oil leaks they've had and some environmental issues. They don't want ships anchored off the coast of California. So they basically have to get a reservation in advance before they even leave Shanghai or any other ports in China, which is pretty smart, actually. So good for them. But Barbara was saying that COVID has not been the #1 driver of our supply chain issues. And there's probably some truth to that, but there's also some secondary impacts because of COVID. Specifically, the biggest reasons for the supply chain is the changing behaviors of consumers of purchasing online versus direct retail. But the unanticipated demand for goods is the #1, but people are just, again, changing their buying habits. Growth in e-commerce versus brick and mortar. Interesting, because of the opening of the Panama Canal, especially on the East Coast, we have not created as many distribution centers as necessary. So less ships are coming to the West Coast, more coming to the East Coast, and there's no way it's more or less delivered just in time, and they don't have the infrastructure in place for those goods and services. Truck driver availability is a big concern, and going forward, we have got to figure that piece out. I've had a couple of conversations with folks this week of how are we as a business community thinking differently about how to do things. Amazon was brilliant. They got those Sprinter vans, and they started delivering via Sprinter vans because you don't have to have a CDL, a commercial driver's license, to drive a Sprinter van. But for the long haulers, you got to have a CDL. Well, because insurance rates are so high for anybody 25 and under, they can't afford to hire anybody younger to be truck drivers. Mm-hmm. So we've got to think differently on how we get these truck drivers. We talked about this last week, Amazon paying $100,000 for a truck driver. I mean, Walmart, $100,000 for a truck driver. Well, that's going to cost everybody more money. So we got to figure out another way, and hopefully maybe going back to the insurance agents or insurance carriers and say, hey, what can we do to lower rates for CDL drivers if they're under 25, because you have more of a chance to get them in at 18 or 19 versus them getting into a career and then coming back into truck driving. It's just harder to do. So anyway, interesting points from Barbara, but I will tell you, my takeaway is we've always relied, since South Carolina was founded by the Lord's proprietors, we've always had a propensity to rely on shipping just because of being that close to the coast and the waters. Well, that thing is a machine, and they really do a fantastic job of creating job opportunities for South Carolina. For future growth purposes, they're going to be looking at other intermodal sites. They recognize that it works. It gets it's the hub and spoke. If you can get as many things out as fast as you can, product will be delivered quicker. And so they got to get out of Charleston. Rail cars are it. They actually have opened up gates on Sunday to ease some of the burden, but there are a lot of restrictions around those sites. So going out by rail is the way to do it. But they're not slowing down. They're continuing to see growth. And so when you see your House and Senate members, remind them that we're spending $1.5 billion on the Carolina Pathway Malfunction Junction. We all know that one. We're spending $1.5 billion on Malfunction Junction to meet 2040 standards. We're not looking any further than that. And I do think that's going to cost us in the long run. We've got to be a little more strategic on how we invest in infrastructure, because today's dollars, 1.5 billion, I can't imagine what that costs in 20 years from now. So we got to think. All right, enough deep thinking. We had a golf tournament yesterday and I'm tired. So I'm about taxed myself out. But I do want to go around a little bit and figure out what y'all are thinking about, anything we need to know about. Before I do that, I do want to thank the staff very much for yesterday, our volunteers, our sponsors, and those. We had 176, 180 golfers out yesterday. So I did not play, for the record, but it looked like it was at least a pretty day to be on a golf course. All right. Yeah, we'll throw it to y'all. Anything for the news of the good? Pearls of wisdom for us.
I don't know about pearls of wisdom, but just a bunch of comments. You mentioned Netflix, and I think what all of the streaming services are finding, especially CNN Plus, which only lasted a few weeks, is that the habits that shifted during the pandemic are not holding, and people are just not streaming every opportunity that they have. Couple of other things that I'm watching, Disney versus Florida. I think that's going to backfire big time in an economic way on the citizens of the state, but we'll see how that goes. It's also going to be a huge drain on the local resources for fire and rescue, medical, etc., because Disney provides all that itself currently. Battery technology, big thing. LFP type batteries, which don't rely on nickel, are getting a lot of attention, and those are the problem with it right now is the energy density and the weight. So if they can solve those problems, I think it's going to make a big impact on EVs, which is another thing. BMW, Mercedes, Volvo, they're all starting to focus on EV fleets, and that of course will have some sort of impact on the manufacturing here as the market shifts to electric vehicles. And finally, cryptocurrency. It's still very risky, but it's getting a lot of traction for everyday type of transactions. So
Rusty, you probably saw this. There was a investment group that allowed crypto be the first time to, as a form of retirement.
Fidelity.
mm-hmm.
Fidelity, yeah.
It was Fidelity that allowed that.
Yeah, in your IRA.
Yeah, first one.
One.
So that's pretty interesting. We'll see how that develops. Others either others will shun them completely or everybody will jump on, right? It's either one or the other. I would imagine they'll all jump on. Good thoughts there, Rusty. And the battery stuff, the new cars, if you're looking today, they're a lot easier to find, those hybrids. And I do agree with you. But the way our system is created in South Carolina, they have put more taxes on environmentally friendly automobiles, but they're not, but we're basing a lot of our stuff off of fuel purchases. And so that you're seeing a declining revenue every year off of gas tax, motor fuel user, because of it's called a motor fuel user fee. It's not a gas tax. And that's because you can actually bond fees, you can't bond taxes. So they changed the law to allow them to bond it. Anyway, that's just Friday trivia that no one really cares about. All right, what else we got?
Well, on yesterday, while I was transporting our partners to and fro, my primary question I asked, because I found that to be true, is were they actually taking advantage of all of the things that we offer at the chamber to help support their business? And so the primary thing that I found is I don't think they all understand that they themselves don't have to be the primary person, that they actually can assign someone to come and participate in these things that we're doing. And I think that will get us more presence from them. And even sometimes if support is lacking, I think that will increase as well.
Hey, thanks, Jackie. I agree with you. That's good. Good inquisitive mind there. Thanks for doing that.
Yes.
Good feedback. What else we got? Y'all too had a long week. Good. Sorry. All right. Well, I don't want to belabor it, but if anybody's got something going once. All right. Trying to read. All right. I'm not gonna call on you today, but I appreciate you being here. And I have one other thing. Got my notes scattered all around.
What about our issues?
See, thank you, Henry. So we talked about this a little bit last week because of what happened in Columbiana Mall. Next week, we're celebrating Small Business Week. But we had an opportunity with the Issues Committee next week. We're having Alan Wilson and Solicitor Byron Gibson with us on Tuesday morning at Richland County Library to talk about all the issues surrounding the increase in gun violence that we've seen and what can be done from a state level as well as at a local level, i.e. the solicitor's office. And this week, I was really happy to see Senator Harpootlian and the governor agree that there's some reasonable measures that can be taken to mitigate some gun violence, mainly from the judiciary side of things. But we look forward to seeing what those proposals look like and see if there can't be some legislative action at some point in time. So anyway, if you're available, we'll be streaming live on Facebook on Tuesday morning, but would love to have you there. So, and it is Small Business Week, so we'll be doing some stuff all week to recognize small business, working with the city and the county. So I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, what about tax modernization?
Oh, no, that's the other tax modernization meeting. And if y'all, for a long time, y'all are so bored with me talking about taxes, but they're having a secondary meeting, their second meeting of tax modernization Tuesday morning at 10, but that's a big deal. And I've sent, everybody should have gotten an email from me this week about that, but they're looking for some stories to tell. So if you have business owners that have had such a negative experience with the high taxes in Columbia, we want to hear about them. It's important to get that story out if we want to see the tax structure changed, because I tell you what, it is costly and it's costing us jobs.
Carl, this is Lynn.
Hey,
good morning, everybody. Just wanted to mention the city has actually been observing National Youth Violence Prevention Week this week. And there actually is a basketball game between Richland County Sheriff's Office and the City of Columbia. It'll be held at Greenview Park this evening. So they're going to actually have a full basketball game. And tonight is the last night, but we've had several opportunities to speak to some community people about the issue of youth violence, but it's a national observation. Last day this week, tonight.
Great, thanks for that very much. Appreciate that. All right. Well, I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. It's beautiful, and get out, enjoy it. And if we can do anything to help y'all, let me know. But we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next Friday, same time, same location. Y'all be good. See you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.